Have you ever trusted someone so deeply that the very idea of betrayal seemed impossible? Now imagine, in the middle of a warm family dinner, your entire reality shatters with just a few words. What would you do if your husband, the person you trusted the most, and your sister, your own flesh and blood, had been hiding a secret that would destroy your life forever? It was a beautiful Saturday evening. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden hue across the dining room, where the aroma of freshly baked lasagna wafted through the air. Laughter echoed as my family gathered for what seemed to be another regular dinner. My husband, Armand, sat at the head of the table, charming everyone with his usual witty remarks. My younger sister, Sana, sat across from me, her smile warm and inviting as she helped my son with his plate. I had always been proud of how close our family was. Armand had blended into our family so seamlessly over the years that my parents often joked about loving him more than they loved me. Sana, being the youngest, was the sweetheart of the house. She had a way of lighting up any room she walked into, her laughter infectious and her spirit unbreakable. Little did I know, behind those smiles and warmth lay a secret that would destroy the very foundation of my family. As we sat around the table, sharing stories and reminiscing about old times, I felt a sense of contentment wash over me. The clinking of glasses, the playful banter, and the warmth of family made me believe that nothing could ever come between us. But as the evening progressed, I began to notice small things that didn't sit right with me. Armand and Sana shared fleeting glances, ones I'd never paid attention to before. They'd laugh at inside jokes that I wasn't part of. When Armand complimented her on her dress, "You always know how to look stunning," it felt off. Maybe I was overthinking, I told myself. After all, Armand had always been kind and supportive of Sana. She was like a younger sister to him, too. But something about their interactions that night planted a seed of doubt in my mind, a nagging feeling that I couldn't shake off. As the evening wore on, the atmosphere shifted slightly. The laughter felt forced and the smiles seemed to mask an underlying tension. I watched as Armand leaned in closer to Sana, whispering something that made her giggle. My heart sank. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that I was being paranoid. But the more I observed, the more I felt like an outsider in my own home. When dessert was served, I couldn't help but notice how Armand's eyes sparkled when he looked at Sana. It was a look I had always thought was reserved for me. I felt a pang of jealousy, but I quickly dismissed it. After all, they were family. But as my dad casually sipped his wine and made light-hearted comments, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing beneath the surface. The tension reached a boiling point when my dad, in his usual jovial manner, mentioned something that froze the room. "Sana, you've been so great with kids lately. That little baby you were holding the other day, whose child was that? Such a cute boy, looked just like you." Sana's face turned pale. Her hands, which had been fiddling with her spoon, froze mid-air. Armand, who had been reaching for another slice of cake, suddenly looked like he'd seen a ghost. The room went silent, the kind of silence that screams louder than words. "Oh, just a friend's baby," Sana stammered, avoiding eye contact. But my dad wasn't done. He chuckled innocently, unaware of the storm brewing. "Well, he's adorable. He's got your eyes, Sana. You'd make a great mom someday." At that moment, something snapped inside me. The way Armand avoided looking at me, the tension in Sana's face, and my dad's innocent comment all came together like pieces of a dark puzzle. I felt a chill run down my spine as the realization began to dawn on me. What if there was more to their relationship than I had ever imagined? After dinner, I pulled Armand aside in the kitchen. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear my own voice. The clattering of dishes and the laughter from the dining room faded into the background as I focused on the man I had trusted with my life. "What's going on with you and Sana?" I demanded, my voice trembling. He blinked, clearly taken aback. "What are you talking about?" There's nothing going on. But his tone lacked conviction. I'd known this man for 10 years, and in that moment, I could see through every lie he was trying to form. The way he avoided my gaze, the nervousness in his voice, it all pointed to something deeper, something sinister. Don't lie to me, Armand. The way you two were acting tonight, it's not normal. And what was Dad talking about? That baby. Before he could respond, Sana walked in, her face a mask of guilt. The air thickened with tension as she stood there, her eyes darting between us. I think we need to talk, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. We sat down in the living room, just the three of us. The atmosphere was heavy, and I could feel the walls closing in as the weight of what was about to happen pressed down on me. I could hardly breathe, my heart racing as I prepared myself for the worst. I didn't mean for you to find out like this, Sana began, tears streaming down her face. Her voice trembled, and I could see the fear in her eyes. Find out what? I demanded, my voice rising, a mix of anger and desperation. And then she said it, the words that would haunt me forever. The baby Dad mentioned, he's mine, and Armand. He's the father. The world around me blurred. It felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All I could do was stare at the two people I loved most in the world as they destroyed me. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife could, and I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. The days that followed were a nightmare. I couldn't look at Sana or Armand without feeling a surge of anger and betrayal. My family was in shambles. My parents were devastated, torn between their love for their daughters and the horror of what had happened. I felt like a ghost in my own life, wandering through the motions but never truly present. I moved out of our home, taking my son with me. The laughter and warmth that once filled our lives were replaced with silence and sorrow. I found solace in the company of friends who supported me, but the pain of betrayal lingered like a dark cloud over my head. I was determined to rebuild my life, but the scars of that night would take time to heal. But I wasn't done yet. If Armand and Sana thought they could get away with this, they were sorely mistaken. I needed to take control of my life again, to reclaim my power. I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce, ensuring that Armand's betrayal would cost him dearly. I wanted him to feel the weight of his actions, to understand the pain he had caused. But I didn't stop there. I confronted Sana one last time, not for revenge, but for closure. I hope it was worth it, I told her, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Because you didn't just betray me. You betrayed our family, and that's something you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. As for Armand, I exposed him for the liar he was. Friends, colleagues, and even his own family were shocked to learn the truth. He lost the respect of everyone around him, and I felt a sense of justice, even if it couldn't undo the pain. I had taken back my narrative, and it felt empowering. In the months that followed, I focused on healing. I sought therapy to help me process the betrayal and the emotions that came with it. I learned to express my feelings rather than bottle them up, and I found strength in vulnerability. My therapist encouraged me to write about my experiences, to channel my pain into something productive. I started journaling, pouring my heart onto the pages, and it became a cathartic release. I also began to reconnect with friends I had lost touch with over the years. They rallied around me, offering support and love. We spent weekends together, going out for coffee, attending yoga classes, and even taking short trips. I rediscovered parts of myself that I had neglected while being consumed by my marriage. I found joy in the little things, like the sound of my son's laughter, the warmth of the sun on my skin, and the comfort of a good book. As I began to heal, I also focused on my career. I had always been passionate about my work, but the betrayal had left me feeling adrift. I decided to channel my energy into my job, taking on new projects and responsibilities. I found that immersing myself in work not only distracted me from the pain, but also reignited my passion for what I did. My colleagues noticed the change in me. I was more focused, more driven, and it felt good to reclaim that part of my identity. One day, while attending a work conference, I unexpectedly ran into an old friend, Raya, whom I hadn't seen in years. We had been inseparable in college, but life had taken us in different directions. Seeing her brought back a flood of memories, and we quickly fell into conversation as if no time had passed. Ria was a successful entrepreneur, and her energy was infectious. She listened intently as I shared my story, and instead of pitying me, she encouraged me to embrace my strength. "You're a survivor," she said, her eyes sparkling with conviction. "You've been through hell, but you're coming out stronger. Use that to fuel your dreams." Her words resonated with me, and I realized that I had the power to shape my future. I began to think about what I truly wanted in life, beyond just healing from the betrayal. I had always dreamed of starting my own business, and with Ria's encouragement, I decided to take the leap. With newfound determination, I began to lay the groundwork for my business. I spent countless nights researching, planning, and networking. I reached out to mentors and attended workshops to learn the ins and outs of entrepreneurship. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once, but I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. As I worked on my business plan, I also focused on being the best mother I could be. My son became my motivation, and I wanted to create a stable and loving environment for him. I involved him in my journey, teaching him the importance of resilience and hard work. We spent weekends brainstorming ideas together, and I loved seeing his creativity shine. Slowly but surely, my business began to take shape. I launched a small online store selling handmade crafts, something I had always enjoyed doing. The support from friends and family was overwhelming, and I found joy in every sale, every positive review. It felt like a fresh start, a new chapter in my life. Months later, as my business gained traction, I received an unexpected message from Arman. He wanted to meet and talk. My heart raced at the thought of seeing him again. Part of me was angry, but another part was curious about what he had to say. After much deliberation, I agreed to meet him, wanting to confront the past on my own terms. When we met, I was struck by how different he looked. The confident man I once knew seemed diminished, his eyes filled with regret. He apologized for the pain he had caused, expressing how he had realized the gravity of his actions. He spoke about his struggles since our separation, how he had lost everything, his family, his reputation, and most importantly, me. I listened, but I felt no sympathy. I had moved on, and while I appreciated his apology, it didn't change the past. "You made your choices, Arman," I said firmly, "and I've made mine. I'm not the same person I was when we were together. I've grown, and I'm happy now." He nodded, tears in his eyes, and I could see the weight of his remorse. "I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you." "I know," I replied, my voice steady. "But it's too late for us. I've found my strength, and I'm building a life for myself and my son. I hope you can find your own path, too." As we parted ways, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. I had faced my past and emerged stronger, ready to embrace the future. With my business thriving and my personal life on the mend, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. I surrounded myself with positive influences, people who uplifted me and encouraged my growth. I continued to nurture my relationship with my son, teaching him the values of honesty, integrity, and resilience. As the months turned into a year, I reflected on how far I had come. I had transformed my pain into purpose, and I was proud of the woman I had become. I learned to trust again, not just in others, but in myself. I had discovered my strength, and it was liberating. As the seasons changed, so did my outlook on life. I embraced new opportunities, both personally and professionally. My business continued to flourish, and I began to explore collaborations with other local artisans, creating a community of support and creativity. I found joy in mentoring others who were starting their own journeys, sharing the lessons I had learned through my own struggles. One sunny afternoon, while attending a local craft fair, I met someone who would change my life in ways I never expected. His name was Vikram, a fellow entrepreneur with a passion for sustainable living. We struck up a conversation about our businesses, and I was immediately drawn to his enthusiasm and kindness. As we talked, I felt a spark that I hadn't felt in years, a connection that was both exciting and terrifying. Vikram was different from anyone I had ever known. He was genuine, supportive, and had a deep respect for my journey. We began to spend more time together, sharing our dreams and aspirations. He encouraged me to push my boundaries and explore new avenues for my business. With him, I felt safe to be vulnerable, to share my fears and hopes without judgment. As our relationship blossomed, I found myself opening up in ways I hadn't thought possible. Vikram understood the pain of betrayal and loss, having faced his own challenges in the past. Together, we navigated the complexities of our lives, building a partnership based on trust and mutual respect. He never rushed me, allowing me to heal at my own pace while being a constant source of support. As I grew closer to Vikram, I also began to reflect on the concept of forgiveness. I realized that holding on to anger and resentment would only weigh me down. I had spent so much time focusing on the betrayal that I hadn't allowed myself to fully heal. It was time to let go of the past and embrace the future. I decided to write a letter to Sana, expressing my feelings and the impact her actions had on my life. I poured my heart into the letter, acknowledging the pain but also recognizing that we were both human, capable of making mistakes. I didn't expect a response, but I felt a sense of relief in releasing those emotions. To my surprise, a few weeks later I received a reply. Sana apologized for her actions and expressed her deep regret for the hurt she had caused. She shared her own struggles and how she had been working to rebuild her life. Reading her words, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. I realized that forgiveness wasn't about condoning her actions, it was about freeing myself from the burden of anger. With the weight of the past lifted, I embraced the present with open arms. My relationship with Vikram deepened, and we began to dream about a future together. We talked about our goals, our values, and the kind of life we wanted to build. I felt a sense of excitement and hope that I hadn't felt in a long time. As we continued to grow together, I also focused on my son's happiness. I wanted to create a loving and stable environment for him, one where he felt safe to express himself and explore his passions. We spent weekends going on adventures, visiting parks, and engaging in creative activities. I cherished every moment, knowing that these memories would shape his future. As I stood on the brink of a new chapter in my life, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The betrayal had been a painful experience, but it had also been a catalyst for growth and transformation. I had learned to trust myself, to embrace my strength, and to pursue my dreams with unwavering determination. I realized that life was a series of ups and downs, and while I couldn't control everything that happened, I could control how I responded. I chose to focus on the positive, to surround myself with love and support, and to continue building a life that reflected my values and aspirations. With Vikram by my side, I felt ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, we envisioned a future filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. I knew that the road wouldn't always be easy, but I was no longer afraid. I had faced my demons and emerged stronger, and I was ready to embrace the beautiful journey of life. It's been a year since that fateful dinner, and I've learned that betrayal doesn't define you. It's how you rise from it that truly matters. I've discovered the power of forgiveness, the importance of self-love, and the beauty of new beginnings. Life is a precious gift, and I'm grateful for every moment. To anyone out there who has faced betrayal, remember, you are stronger than the pain they caused. You have the power to reclaim your narrative and build a life filled with joy and purpose. Embrace your journey, learn from your experiences, and never lose sight of your worth. Have you ever experienced betrayal like this? Share your story in the comments below. Let's create a space where people can find strength and healing through shared experiences. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more shocking confessions like this one.